Hello everybody and welcome back to another Oscar prediction video where I just want to say thank you guys so much for the comments you left on the last video. It really means a lot. Sometimes I forget that people actually watch these. I think I'm just making these for myself, but I'm making these with really cheap video making software too, so it's hard to imagine that people actually go out of their way to watch these. But it is great, and if you watch these videos, maybe check out my series From Pixels to Pictures, where I take a look at movies based on video games and try to figure out what went wrong. But you can do that after this video, because today I'm going to be talking about Best International Feature. And this year has been a great year for International Feature, but it's also been a great year for non-English films being recognized outside of the International Feature category. Four separate movies have received nominations outside of International Feature, and three of them in top tier above the line categories. That never happens, and it's really great to see the new Academy voters branching out and rewarding different types of movies. It's also really great to see the general public really embracing movies and shows from all over the world. 2 years ago, Parasite won Best Picture, and that movie was a big audience crowd pleaser. And this year we have the show Squid Game, which became this huge pop culture phenomenon, even though it's not in English. And it's just really great to see these different cultures and these different types of stories being embraced. So I always find it really interesting how these types of movies get selected, because the whole country gets together and decides this is the movie that we're choosing, this is our horse in the race. And it's pretty crazy because there's a lot of countries and not all of them get represented a lot. It's also weird that the Oscar goes to the country and not to the director, but okay, that's just the situation it is. And okay, starting us off, fifth most likely to win is The Hand of God. Okay, so this film is from Italy, and Italy actually has the record when it comes to this category. They have 32 nominations and 14 wins. Now, with that said, I don't think this is going to be their 15th. And I know it's easy to look at that, at how many nominations they've had, how many wins they've had, and be like, oh, well, clearly Italy is the way to go. But that's not necessarily true, not every year. And with this particular movie, the reception that it's gotten has been a lot more lukewarm than some of the other movies that are in consideration this year. The film is directed by Paolo Sorrentino, who also directed The Great Beauty and a couple other well-respected Italian films. But with this particular film, he's making something that's it's kind of his Belfast. It's a very self-biographical film, but the film did, again, the reception to it was not great. People didn't hate it, but it was kind of like, oh, this is a nice movie, I guess, but it kind of feels like Paolo Sorrentino made the movie for himself and no one else. And so I get why it's here, I get why it got the nomination. It probably just got the nomination because the character talks about wanting to be a filmmaker and how special movies are, and that's the trick. If you want to get your movie nominated for an Oscar, have the characters talk about how special movies are. That does like half the work for you. But okay, outside of that, very well made film, I guess, but it just doesn't work for a lot of people, and for me it was like, yeah, okay, not really getting it. And it hasn't really won any of the major precursors. I think it did well enough at like the BAFTA shortlist, but I don't know how much it got. And I think the other movies in this category have done a lot better and have more general passion and support behind them. So great to see you represented here again, Italy. I'm sure you'll be back in the future, but I feel like this is just not your year. Fourth most likely to win is Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom. So this film is from Bhutan, which is actually the very first nomination for Bhutan. It's always exciting when that happens. But the thing with this movie is that it has an interesting history where it was it was submitted for the Oscar last year and then disqualified, and then they found a way to make it eligible this year. And I have not seen this one, but everyone who has says it's very charming and very uplifting. And from the trailer, it looks uplifting and charming in that way. It feels like the kind of crowd pleaser movie that can get a lot of support rallying behind it. With that being said, it was kind of a surprise in the nominations. It didn't get a lot of precursor love prior to this, and it yeah, I think most people were predicting Asghar Farhadi's A Hero from Iran to get this slot instead, which is a perfectly fine film, but I feel like it didn't warrant the same amount of passion as some of his previous films, and I feel like a lot of people were just having him in as a placeholder because it's Asghar Farhadi. I'm sure he gets in. But Lunana is what got in, and Lunana can benefit from being the underdog, I guess, but I don't know how much support it's actually going to get. I think, and I don't know how many people have actually seen it. I don't know how widely available it's been, although the campaigners are trying to get it out there. So I think it could get votes. It could even place higher than fourth. This is all just speculation, but I don't think it's going to get enough support to actually win. The other thing, too, is both Lunana and The Hand of God have just the International Feature nomination, and that's it. The other three films in this category have additional nominations outside of International Feature, which, when a movie has additional nominations, then that movie goes higher up on your priority list, and it's more likely that voters are going to see it. So, Lunana, for that reason, I don't think it's going to win. I don't think it's going to beat this competition, because this competition, it gets pretty fierce. Speaking of, third most likely to win is Flea. So first of all, congratulations on this movie for being only the second animated film in history to receive a Best International Feature nomination. It's a pretty big deal for an animated movie to be submitted by the country as the best of the year. That's what really happens. I mean, no animated film has ever won the Oscar for Best Picture, so imagine the whole country getting together and being like, this is the film that will represent us. Also, I don't know exactly what the statistics are on documentaries being nominated for International Feature. I haven't found that, but we have an animated international documentary that's nominated in all three, and that's a very, very big deal. Now, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of debate about Flea and the three categories it's nominated in and which ones could it actually win. And I think it's unlikely to win here. I think the fact that it's going up against narrative films and narrative films that have above the line support and attention. This is not nominated for picture or anything else above the line, but it does have the three significant nominations, and that helps it a lot because it means people are going to watch it. And if I were doing an Oscar ballot, personally, I would vote for Flea in all three categories, but I understand some Academy voters wanting to spread the wealth, especially when we have international features that are this good. So, Flea, I think, is going to get some love, I think is going to get some support, but I just feel like not in this specific category. Even though it's an incredible film, it's one of my favorite films of the year, and it is absolutely deserving of awards attention, I kind of feel like it's okay, I'm not doing documentary feature just yet, but my gut tells me if it's going to win anything, it's going to win there. Otherwise, maybe the win is just the fact that it got nominated in all three. Again, the film is beloved, but I don't see it winning, not with this competition. Also, it'd be pretty crazy for an animated film to win in national feature. Okay, so you know what, I'm kind of trying to stretch this out as much as I can, but at a certain point, there's not much you can say. The movie is incredible. Watch it if you haven't seen it. But in this particular category, I don't think it has much of a chance of pulling off a win. Second most likely to win is The Worst Person in the World. And despite what you may think, no, it's not about Donald Trump. But it is a very well-received Norwegian film. This is the 6th nomination for Norway. Oh, I totally forgot to mention Flea was the 14th nomination for Denmark and the 4th win. and they had 4 wins under their belt. So Denmark's well respected. Norway is less respected. This is the 6th nomination. Norway has never won. And sometimes they like narratives like that. Oh, this country's never won. Let's give it to Norway. But I don't know how exactly well publicized that factoid is. And so while The Worst Person in the World is very well liked, now the thing to remember with this movie is that it got a shocking Best Original Screenplay nomination. And that was very surprising. That it took the slot that was expected to go to Being the Ricardos, and even if it wasn't going to be Being the Ricardos, you might have said, Come On, Mass, Parallel Mothers. The nomination for Worst Person really did seem to come out of nowhere. And so that shows that the movie has a lot of support. And I feel like in most years, that would be all I need. In most years, I'd be like, oh, it got a surprise screenplay nomination. This has a lot of support. This is winning, obviously. But in this year, there's just one little problem. And the fact that as beloved as it is, and as widely liked as it is, it has some very, very steep competition. And let's not beat around the bush anymore. Number 1 most likely to win is Drive My Car. So this is a Japanese film, which means I get the opportunity to play this. It's from Japan! Never gets old. But it's also, so Japan has a pretty good record here. 4 wins, 17 nominations. It's one of the highest, one of the countries that's done the best in this category. But there's no, okay, the reason why this is winning International Feature is because it's nominated for Best Picture. And once you have a film nominated for Best Picture, it kind of takes any and all suspense out of the International Feature category. And the thing is, we've seen this a lot in the past years because they're trying to be more inclusive in including international features in Best Picture, which means the year of Roma, we all knew that was winning international. The year of Parasite, we all knew that was international. I think we're going to start seeing year after year, I hate to say tokenism because I don't think it's tokenism, but they really are going to try to nominate international features in Best Picture as much as they can. And while it is true that that's going to make the international feature category very predictable every year, I don't think we're that far off from having 2 international features represented in Best Picture, which could start getting the category looking pretty interesting. But yeah, this film is nominated for Best Picture and Best Director and Best Screenplay, which means any argument you wanted to make that Worst Person in the World had a chance because of its screenplay nomination, well, Drive My Car also has that and more. Yeah, it's really, really hard to make any sort of case against Drive My Car, even though Worst Person in the World early on seemed like it was gonna make a strong case for itself. And also, I wonder how Parallel Mothers would be doing if Spain had submitted that, but they didn't. Apparently, the film is quite critiqueful of the Spanish government, so it didn't get submitted, but did get 2 other nominations for lead actress and original score. And I think it does go to show like how strong this year is for Best International Feature. But I think there's not really much of a point in talking about this. Drive My Car is a film that's resonating with a lot of people. And I just, like, if the Worst Person in the World was going to contend, why is it not nominated for Best Picture? Like, the whole Academy votes for this. There's really no suspense here. I remember when I was very young, I think I was 13 years old, and that was the year that Up got nominated for Best Picture, and I was really excited, but then that day, on the car ride over to school, I was like, well, no suspense in animated feature, is there? We know it's gonna be Up, and it was Up, and then the next year with Toy Story 3 was the same thing, and then we saw it with Amour, and then Roma, and then Parasite, and now Drive My Car. If something gets a Best Picture nomination, no suspense here. Even though Worst Person in the World is very well liked, and in different circumstances could contend, if something ever is to happen, because I've heard sometimes people try to make the argument of, oh, the Best Picture nomination is enough of a reward, they're going to branch out and give it to something else. You can use that strategy if you want, but I have yet to see it actually play off. In every instance I can think of, it goes to the Best Picture nominee. So I can't imagine anything other than Drive My Car winning, even though, once again, there are some very good films and very deserving films in this category. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you all for tuning in, and be sure to tune in tomorrow where I will be taking a look at the category of Best Supporting Actress. Stay tuned.